Can you hear me? Shubham, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can you see presentation? Is presentation visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, presentation is visible to everybody, right? Can you see presentation, the structure?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So today's topic is structure and functions of deoxyribonucleic acid. Deoxyribonucleic acid, that is DNA. Okay. DNA. The full form of DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid. And whenever we are seeing DNA, many times we comes across like this strands, right? So this one is a one strand, and this one is a another strand. So it is like two rope strand coiling on in each other. So this one is a DNA structure. Okay, like left side structure. So this one is a DNA structure. So this is a deoxyribonucleotide, and DNA structure, most of time we represent it as a double stranded DNA structure, right? So this one is a one strand, and this one is a another strand. So this one is a DNA. Next, cells and karyotype. So this is our cell. This is cell nucleus, nucleolus, nuclear pores, ribosomes. So this one is a cell. It contains mitochondria, cytoplasm. Out of this, we are more interested in this nucleus part, nucleus, nucleolus part. So here in this nucleus, there are these chromosomes we can find, right? In the inside the cells, we can find these chromosomes. We can find this DNA structure. So this DNA structure we are more interested. Like in our case, we have 23 pairs of chromosomes. Okay, 22 are called as autosomes, and one X and Y, it is a sex chromosome based on whether it is XX, it is a female, or XY, it is a male based on sex chromosome, right? So this one is a structure of cells, and this one are the karyotypes. So we are interested in this topic in the studying. For example, this is our chromosome, and we want to see what is its structure, what it is actually made up of, and we are more concentrating on the nucleic acid part of it. So this is a chromosomes are condensed by supercoiling. So this, for example, this one is a metaphase chromosome. This one. So if you see the one arm of metaphase chromosome is 700 nanometer in diameter. So this one is metaphase chromosome. Each chromosome arms contain the supercoiled. It is a supercoiled on itself. So that is a 300 nanometer diameter, and tight helical fibers, they are 30 nanometer in diameter. So these helical fibers, they form the nucleosome, which is 10 nanometer in diameter, and each nucleosomes are joined together by linker, and this is structured like a beads on the strings. Basically, we have a histone molecule here, and on histone molecules, this DNA is wounded around. So this is a beads on a string structure. So here in this photo, we can see this white region. This is histone, and the other coil on it is a strings of DNA, right? And if you go further detail, what is this string of DNA? So it is a DNA double helix structure. It is a 2 nanometer in diameter. So this structure. So basically, we have a cell, we have nucleus, and inside the nucleus we have chromosomes, and in the chromosomes we have one supercoiled structure. Supercoiled structure is there. A supercoiled structure, how it is supercoiled? Because it contains histone, and on that histones this DNA is wounded around it. Actually, if you see your cell size very less, if you join all the DNA of your cell, body cells, then it can go up to sun, right? Up to sun distance. So very much distance, we need a supercoiling. So that is why this DNA is supercoiled by histone, which will help it wound on each other, right? So this is a wounded structure, superhelical structure, right? So this is a supercoiled structure. That is why this metaphase chromosome is a condensed structure which contains DNA. So now we are going to concentrate more on this DNA double helix structure in our lecture. So nucleic acid. So we already know that there are two types of nucleic acid: DNA and RNA, deoxyribonucleic acid and ribonucleic acid. The nucleic acids are polymers. Okay, so these are the polymer structure. Polymers means these structure which are made up of monomeric unit. That is a polymer structure. Okay, so nucleic acids are polymer of nucleotides, polynucleotides. So each nucleotide, last lecture we saw the nucleotides. So these nucleotides, they join together and they will form the polynucleotide, and they will be held together by 3' and 5' phosphate bridges. Okay, 3' and 5' phosphate bridges will be will be holding two nucleotides together. The nucleotides are composed of nitrogenous base. So this one is a simple nucleotide structure, nitrogenous base, pentose sugar and phosphate group. Just for revision, we have here pentose sugar here. Here nitrogenous bases are attached, and at this position the phosphate group is there. So this one is a simple nucleotide structure. Nucleotide act as a monomeric unit in the nucleic acid. So this one is a single nucleotide. If we have like this nucleotide stack on each other, so there that is a polynucleotide structure, right? So right now this nucleotide is a monomeric, and if you join more than two monomeric structures, so it is becoming polymeric. So deoxynucleic acid carries the genetic information. So everybody knows that DNA has a role as a genetic instructions. So information from parents to the children are passed via this deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA. It consists of two strands that wound around each other to form a double helix. So already we discussed there is one strand, two strand, and now they are wounding around each other, and they will form this double helix structure. Strand backbone is made up of alternating sugar, deoxyribose, and phosphate backbone. Okay, so this strand backbone contains this sugar molecule, that is a deoxyribose. So in case of DNA, there is a deoxyribose and there is a phosphate group. So these two are there. So sugar is a deoxyribose. In case of RNA, it should be ribose sugar. Next, four bases are the adenine, cytosine, and guanine, and thymine. So in case of DNA, mostly thymine is present, and in case of RNA, uracil can be present. So uracil is present in the RNA. So these four bases, adenine, cytosine, guanine, and thymine, are present in the DNA. The sequence of bases along the backbone serve as an instruction for assembling of proteins and RNA molecule. As we know that we have central dogma like DNA making RNA, RNA making protein. So this, how protein is made for particular protein, for example, hexokinase enzyme is there. How it is made? We have particular sequence for a hexokinase. DNA sequence, it will be transcribing into the RNA, and that RNA will be translated into the protein molecule. So that is why the sequence of bases is important, and they will be serving as a backbone instructions. DNA is a polymer of deoxyribonucleotides. So this one is a polymer of this is DNA molecule. Right side you can see, and it is a polymer of deoxynucleotides. So you can see sugar molecule: 1 sugar, 2 sugar, 3 sugar, 4 sugar. Likewise, sugars are there, and we have one nucleotide. So if you put 1 sugar, this phosphate, and this nucleotide base, so this is a nucleotide. This one is one nucleotide. This one is a second nucleotide. This one is a third nucleotide, fourth nucleotide, fifth nucleotide, sixth nucleotide. So likewise, this DNA structure is there, and they are joined together. So basically, if you see the DNA structure, we consist of monomeric units as a deoxyadenylate, DAMP, deoxyguanylate, DGMP, deoxycytidylate, DCMP, deoxythymidylate, DTMP. So these nucleotide bases are present in our DNA molecule. 3 prime 5 prime phosphate bond. So again we have this nucleotide. This one is a sugar molecule. This blue you can see is a base, and here in the yellowish color we have this phosphate group. So phosphate group, sugar molecule, sugar molecule here, and this one is a nucleotide base. So this one is a nucleotide. One nucleotide we have second nucleotide. Now we know structure of nucleotide. Now we just have to join this nucleotide together, right? So we have one nucleotide here, we have second nucleotide here, and now we want to join them. So how we join them? So we measure carbon number here. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 carbon sugar is there. On the third carbon, if you see, it is a OH group is present here. So this OH group can join with this phosphate group, and it will be join the structure. So this is a general nucleotide structure. Okay, so general nucleotide, how it is being joined. Okay, so this one is for example AMP. This one is for example CMP, and this one example AMP. Okay, so this nucleotide, this can be joined together after condensation reaction as a phosphodiester link. So first nucleotide and second nucleotide, they join with the help of the phosphate group. So this is a phosphate group. It will be joining the 3' end of one sugar with the 5' end of the other sugar. And in this condensation reaction, water molecule is removed. Okay, so this one is a phosphodiester bond. Phosphodiester bond, 3', 5' phosphodiester bond. And this sugar is a ribose sugar. This one is not deoxyribose sugar. If you want deoxyribose sugar, then we have to get rid of this O here. So instead of OH, here only here there will be only hydrogen atom. So that is a deoxyribose sugar. But this is a mechanism how one nucleotide joins with another nucleotide, right? Joining. So 3' 5' phosphodiester bond. So this one is a backbone. So whenever we say DNA, we say that DNA is made up of backbone. DNA backbone consists of sugar and phosphate. So what does we mean by this? So we mean by this that this one is our one sugar, this one is our phosphate, this one is a sugar. So if you see the structure like this, so this one is a backbone. So this backbone made up of phosphate, sugar, phosphate, sugar. So this one is a backbone of DNA. So how this backbone of DNA is joined together, and this backbone contains the 3' to 5' phosphodiester bridges. And next concept we will come that adenine binds with thymine, or cytosine binds with guanosine. So this one is this bases we have structure like this 2 and 1 bases pairing with another with this hydrogen bond. So this we will come in the next slides. So this basically this one is a backbone structure. So right now you concentrate on this backbone structure and how these backbone 2 nucleotides are being joined together. Next is a Chargaff's rules of base pairing. In this base pairing, A with T. So adenine always base pairs with pyrimidine residue. So purine residue, adenine base pairs with the pyrimidine thymine. Pyrimidine residue cytosine always base pair with the purine guanine, and they are not in this one Chargaff's rule. There is not enough space. That is within 20 nucleotide of 20 angstrom minute or 2 purines to fit within the helix. So that is why adenine and guanine, they usually don't pair with each other. Adenine has to pair with thymine because they have to fit in the available space. Likewise, too much space for 2 pyrimidine ring to get close enough to each other and form hydrogen bonds between them. So why we don't have purine-purine bond or pyrimidine-pyrimidine bond? Because purine-purine, they if they are going to form the bond, there will not be enough space. And if the pyrimidine is there, they will be too close to each other to form the hydrogen bond with each other. That is why A always pairs with T and C always pairs with the G. That is a Chargaff's rule. Chargaff's is one of the scientists who discovered this relationship. And likewise, why A is not pairing with the C? So we say A pairs with the T and C pairs with G. Why A can't pair with the C? The answer is that only A and T and C and G are their opportunity to form the hydrogen bond. Okay, so we have, for example, this one is a adenine, this one is a thymine. So adenine can form the hydrogen bond with only thymine. It cannot form hydrogen bonds with the cytosine. Likewise, cytosine can form bond with the guanine, not with the adenine. So that is the reason why this pairing is important. And this dashed line you see here, this dashed line is the hydrogen bond. So within adenine and thymine, there are the two hydrogen bonds, and within guanine and cytosine, there is a 1, 2, 3. So there are the 3 bonds. So adenine base pair with the thymine with the 2 bonds, guanine with the cytosine with the 3 bonds. There are equal molar concentration of adenine and thymine as well as guanine and cytosine in most of DNA molecules. So amount of adenine in the organism and amount of guanine is the same. So for example, this one is a human. So this one is a 30.9% is the adenine and 29.4% is the thymine. So it will, this amount should match with each other, right? So this one is approximately similar percentage. Adenine and guanine, if you see 30 and 29.4. So this one is same, but if you see 30.9 and 19.9, so this difference is used. But if you see guanine and cytosine, so 19.3%, 9% relative proportion of bases and 19.8% of cytosine. So these two matches, right? So these two matches, these two matches. So and each organism, they have different proportions of this adenine, thymine, cytosine, guanine, and residue. The amount of guanine and cytosine should match. C plus G as to A plus T ratio varies from organism to organism among prokaryotes, but it should be within the particular limit. So actual amount of A and T, it may vary, but it should be within the within that proportion. It should not be too far apart. Double helix structure of DNA proposed by the James Watson and Francis Crick in 1953. So these two scientists, James Watson and Francis Crick, they proposed the DNA double helix model. The DNA double helix model is basically a like ladder structure, just a twisted ladder. So that is what we call as a coiling structure. So two strands are anti-parallel. So one strand of DNA should run in the 5' to 3' direction, while others should run in the 3' to 5'. So one 5' to 3', so others should be 3' to 5'. Likewise, directionality, anti-parallel. Two polynucleotide chains are not identical but complementary to each other due to the base pairing. Okay. So if you take this strand of DNA and this strand of DNA, these are complementary to each other. This strand and these strands are not same. So this A here should pair with a T, C should pair with a G. So that is a complementary relationship. It is not the same relationship, but if you know the sequence of one strand, you can deduce the sequence of the another strand. That is a complement because of the complementary relationship. That is, two strands are complementary with each other. Two strands are held together by the hydrogen bond formed by complementary base pairing. So this is A to T bond or C to G bond. These are the hydrogen bonds which are holding two strands together. The genetic information resides on one strand of DNA is known as a template strand or sense strand. So DNA information, so we know that DNA codes for RNA, RNA codes for gene, and the genes determines the function. For example, our skin color is determined by genes. So these genes are found on the template strand or the sense strand. So this genetic information is coded on this strand, template or sense strand, sometimes it is referred. And this opposite, if this is a sense strand, then this other strand is a anti-sense strand. So this one is a anti-sense strand, other is anti-sense strand. DNA helix has a wide major groove and narrow minor groove along with a phosphodiester backbone. So if you see the structure of the DNA, so this one is the structure of DNA, and you can see a major groove. So this one is a major groove, and opposite to this one is a minor groove. So till now we are talking about this one only. The bases are there, nucleotide bases this pair with this one. For example, adenine pairs with thymine, cytosine with the guanine. So this one is a base pair by 2 and 3 hydrogen bond respectively. And this one is a sugar phosphate backbone, means this first nucleotide and second nucleotide, they are joined together by the sugar phosphate backbone, that is a phosphodiester bond. So this one is there. Next thing is we have here is a diameter. So 20 angstrom unit. So 20 angstrom unit is a diameter, 2 nanometer diameter. This is a diameter of DNA. Helical turns, one helical turns contains this 34 angstrom unit. So if you see the one helix, so if you start and see the one complete helix, it is a 34 angstrom unit, and approximately it should contain the 10 bases. 10.5 or 10 bases, we can say this DNA should contain. So if you take a one complete turn, each if you take if you measure how many bases are there are 10 bases, and in one strand, and 10 base pairs in the two strand. So basically, if you are talking about one strand, we say bases, and if you are talking combinedly with the both strand, about both strand, we say base pairs. Okay, because these are the paired relationship, complementary. Major group, it is a 22 angstrom unit, that is 2.2 nanometer. This length is there. If you see how much is this one, and this minor group is a 12 angstrom unit, that is 1.2 nanometer, and this one is basically a ball and stick like structure. So this one is a space filling model. So H is represented by purple color, O by orange color, C by carbon by black color, other basis color phosphate like yellow. Likewise, color representation is there, and this is a like represent structure. Left is a ribbon representation like a double helix. So whenever you have to describe this one, you have to mention this time diameter, how much is base pair, how much is a number of base pair per turns, what is hydrogen bond, what is phosphodiester bond. So this one is a DNA strand. So let's say we have talked about one DNA strand. So DNA strand, we say it is a 5' to 3' structure. So it contains phosphate, sugar, phosphate, sugar, phosphate, sugar, phosphate, sugar. So this one is a backbone, and each backbone here, the sugar is attached with this base, thymine, guanine, cytosine, adenine. So this is, for example, this one is a TGCA. So this one TGCA, this is a sequence of the nucleotide. So whenever we have DNA nucleotide sequence, we read it like TGCA because we have sequence like this. So whenever people say they have sequenced DNA, it means that they have determined what is this sequence of the sequence of letter in the given fragment of the DNA. So this one is a single strand. How this single strand look like? And we usually DNA has a DS DNA, means double stranded DNA. So we have this 5' end, 3' end. Other strand is a 3' end, 5' end. So T pairs with a A. You can see here two double hydrogen bond. The cytosine pairs with guanine, the 3 hydrogen bond, thymine, adenine. Likewise, this hydrogen bond, so one strand is there, other strand is there. Now there is a tendency that if one adenine is there and one thymine is there, they should come and they should form the hydrogen bond. That is why this, after denaturation, if you renature DNA, they will both strand will again come together and they will try to be in contact with each other with the help of hydrogen bonding. So that is the hydrogen bonding of the DNA. That is why DNA are held together. Two strands of DNA held together by hydrogen bond. So if you see the hydrogen bond is a quite a weaker bond. If you hit DNA also, then this DNA tends to break apart. Like in polymerase chain reaction, this DNA can come apart by this denaturing temperature at 94 degrees Celsius. But this phosphodiester bond, this is a covalent bond and they won't break easily. So this is one point about DNA strands. Conformation of the DNA double helix. 3 major forms of the DNA are double-stranded and connected by the interaction between complementary base pair. So conformation of DNA includes the A form of DNA, B form of DNA, and Z form of the DNA. The two strands are not in a simple side-by-side arrangement, which is normally called as a paranemic joint. So whenever talking, I'm telling you that this is one strand and this is another strand. And if I am showing the two strand like that, that is a paranemic joint. Means you are seeing that is a paranemic, but it is not how DNA is in our cell. The two strands of DNA are basically coiled. Okay, so this one is a coil on the same axis. So this one are the coil on each other likewise. So this is a plectonemic coil. So this one is a plectonomic coil. This is an intertwined arrangement. And one consequences of this intertwining is that the two strands cannot be separated without DNA rotating one strand of the DNA for every untwisting. So if you want to separate this DNA strand, you cannot separate as such. If you try to pull up a DNA, it will on the back end, it will coil on itself, right? So this one is a paranemic structure, and this one is a plectonemic coil. So DNA in our cell is in this structure, plectonemic coil. And usually we have B form of the DNA, which is a right-handed structure. The base pairs are around 10 base pair per turn. Vertical rise is a 3.4 base pair. So each base pair has a distance of 3.4 angstrom unit between each other. Rotation per base is a 36 degree, and the helical diameter is a 19 angstrom unit. Okay. A form of the DNA is again right-handed. It is base pairs per turn are the 11. Vertical rise is a 2.56 angstrom unit, and the rotation per base is plus 33 degree, and helical diameter is a 19 angstrom. In comparison to A and B form, we have Z form, which is a left-handed structure, and base pairs per turn is a 12. Vertical rise per base is a 19 angstrom. Rotation per base is a minus 30 degree, and the helical diameter is a 19 angstrom. So biological significance of the DNA, the start codon is a AUG. Methionine is only amino acid specified by just one codon, AUG. So whenever we say DNA, so DNA ultimately has to code for the RNA, and RNA will be coding for the protein. So whenever we transcribe our DNA into RNA, we have, for example, this sequence of codon: AUG, AUG, GGG, CCC. Likewise, we have mRNA sequence, and this out of this mRNA, this AUG codes for methionine. So if you have in mRNA this AUG, it should give the methionine. There are the stop codons like UAA, UAG, and UGA. This encodes no amino acid, ribosome pauses and pulse at the RNA. So we say that there is a transcription event in which the start codon is there, like AUG, and there is a stop codon like UAA, UAG, UGA. So these are the codons found in the our genome. There are other codons also. We will come to that point. The stretch of codon between AUG and stop codon is called as an open reading frame. So if you take mRNA and you counting between the AUG and the stop codon, so that is an open reading frame for that DNA. DNA serves to code for protein. 3-letter nucleotides serve as a code for the amino acid. Okay, so this 3 nucleotide code, for example, AUG, these are 3 in number nucleotides. They are coding for the methionine. So each particular sequence of nucleotide, if you take, so it should be coding for one particular amino acid. But there is an exception like UAA, UAG, UGA. They won't code for anything. They will just stop the this translation process. So this biological significance includes the protein synthesis. Next, DNA fingerprinting. So paternity test. So if you take a DNA of a child, you can determine the paternity of that child, or paternity of animal, right? So we can detect the crime scene even from the sputum sample DNA or the hair sample DNA. We can identify the person who committed the crime. Likewise, identification of the microbes. Many microbes, there are the microbial identification tests as well as genome-based identification test. For example, E. coli, Brucella, this you can determine. whether they are present or not with the help of particular genome sequence which are found in them. So if you target this sequence, design PCR primer and do polymerase chain reaction, you can see based on presence or absence of this organism. There are likewise there is a metagenomics application like in the ruminants or in the human gut microbiome. We can do the metagenomic identification. We can determine the based on genomic sequence which organisms are present, how much is abundance that we can see. So basically, this is a genetic table. So whenever we say this DNA is important for coding the protein, this means that we should know the genetic code table. So this one is a first letter U, this one is a second letter, and this one is a third letter. So first, second, third, that is a UUU, that is phenylalanine. Likewise, for example, this one is a first letter, second is a this letter, A letter. So this one, and third is a this letter. So AAA, it codes for lysine. So likewise, we generally have 20 amino acid in us, and out of these 20 amino acid, this is a 64 codon table which codes for different amino acid in us. So this one is a genetic code table, and each different sequence will code for the different amino acids. So we have phenylalanine, leucine, leucine, isoleucine. So you can see here phenylalanine is coded by two codons, UUU, UUC. But if you see threonine, threonine is can be coded by this sequence, ACU, ACC, ACA, ACG, this sequence. And if you see UAA, UAG, UGA, this is a stop codon. They won't code for anything. So based on different amino acids, they can have a different number of codons based on genetic code table. So this one is a genetic code table. There is a DNA sequencing application. In this one, the objective generally is to determine the order of bases in DNA sequencing. DNA sequence, determine the order of bases in gene, chromosome, and entire genome. Sanger sequencing is there. You can use this Sanger sequencing for determining the sequence of DNA. Likewise, there nowadays there are next generation sequencing. People talk about next generation sequencing, metagenomics, single cell sequencing. Likewise, so the objective is to know the sequence of the DNA in this one. And next, from this topic on, basically we are learning this one DNA because we want to see this DNA replication. So this one is a DNA, and how this DNA again can make itself. So one DNA, how it can make the two DNA. So this replication process is there. So we are going to see this replication process. Likewise, this central dogma contains this transcription process. So this one is a DNA and this one is a RNA. So we want to know how DNA can be coded into the RNA. So this one is a transcription process. Next, we have RNA, and we want to know how this can be coded into the protein. That is a translation process. So this one is a translation. So generally, central dogma describes these processes: replication, transcription, translation. But central dogma is a misnomer. So dogma is usually used for religious principle, like this cannot be changed. Dogma means certain principle is there, religious principle, and it cannot be changed. So that is why it is misnomer, because it is being found that there is a one process called as a reverse transcription. So this process here, RNA can go from this RNA into the DNA. So this can be reversed. Previously, it was thinking that this process is like continuous process, but RNA, there are some RNA viruses which can have the reverse transcriptase enzyme, and it can give the DNA, RNA to DNA. So that is this process. So the objective is that we have to learn these processes also, right? DNA replication, transcription, translation, reverse transcription. Okay, so these are references. Thank you.